Are you saying you faked with me?
Yeah.
Wrong. Now you're single.
What do you know about sexual relations?
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
You're listening to the Come With Us podcast, talking the good, the kinky, and the ugly. Here are your hosts, Beth, Aaron, and Tina.
Hello, hello, all you sexy holes and poles. Welcome to Come With Us podcast, where we've got everything men want to know about love, sex, and relationships. I'm Beth Darling from BethDarling.com here with Tina and Aaron. We know sexy stuff matters just as much as the lovey-dovey stuff, and that's why we're here to help you get all the pleasure you deserve, which today we're talking about people who give up pleasure for a month. That's right. It's No Nut November. I don't quite understand this, but we're going to just kind of take a look. Frankly, I hadn't heard of this before, but Aaron, No Nut November means no masturbation by men for a month. Does that sound cool to you?
Not at all. No. I did that once in my life and that was it.
Really?
Wait, really? When?
So the month before my wife and I got married, we decided no sexy fun, no playing with ourselves, no nothing, just to kind of revamp and wait for our honeymoon.
Really?
Yep.
How did that go?
It was fine. I mean, it was difficult at times where, we're laying in bed going to sleep because we lived together before we got married.
You lived together and slept together and had nothing for 30 days?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
it was, I guess 30 days because we got married in the middle of March. And so we started in the middle of February. So like give or take a couple of days.
Okay. So a month, but
yeah.
Okay. So I guess though, actually, if it wasn't difficult, I probably would say, are y'all sure you should be getting married? Because
no, there were
there are a lot
times
of
where like we were
couples,
laying on the couch together and like we would just start making out for a minute and be like, oh, let's like pump the brakes on this for, half an hour and watch TV or cool off for a second.
Oh my gosh. That is too funny. Yeah. Tina, could you have done that? I don't think you would have stuck to it.
I guess if it was like in a pact, with someone I love, I probably could, but like, I don't know. I feel like it may be more difficult for men because I think that like it's something that's like more physical, like if that makes sense, like it's something that like happens. You could just like get boners and like,
Yeah, more often. That's absolutely true, especially for younger men. So yeah, Aaron was in his 20s, so that's when I say
like
the wind blows,
with,
right?
Like morning wood and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Okay, so tell us, Aaron, why did this? And Tina, if you've known people, like, why do people want to do this No Nut November?
So I had only seen it, on different Reddit like forums and stuff like that about like, well, like, or there's a random Ask Reddit and it's like, hey guys, how's No Nut November going? This was a couple years ago and I was like, what the fuck? And so I started reading up on it a bit and I was like, yeah, no, I don't feel like I need to. And some people say, hey, I'm testing myself to see if I can go a whole month. If you can't go a whole month without masturbating, you're addicted to masturbating. I could see it if you would say I need to go a whole month without porn consumption or without, something like that. Like, because people started this years ago with Sober October. Can I go 31 days with not a drop of alcohol and kind of recharge my body and kind of flush out all the toxins that I get from alcohol?
Which actually was proven to be not a good thing either. From
Really?
Like they say that this Sober October thing, and this obviously don't really think applies to masturbation because you when you quit cold turkey, you then return back like a lot harder once you start drinking again.
Oh,
and then apparently like it does the opposite effect in the end because you're just like totally overdoing it once you. So,
yeah.
And again, like masturbation is probably not exactly the same thing, but I think you can probably be addicted to there may be a limit to how much you can masturbate. Certainly.
Oh, definitely. Because I know people. I've worked with men who would tell me that for a period of time they would jerk off 13 times a day or something insane. Yeah.
Like that
I
sex,
just,
like that sex
Right.
therapist. Yeah, at some point
Yeah.
it must get like raw or some. I don't know.
yes.
It would just
Actually,
hurt.
one guy said that, but they still couldn't quite stop it. So I believe that you can take pretty much anything to an extreme and make it bad.
Yeah.
And that's certainly an issue. But the difference to me between the alcohol and jerking off for 30 days is, alcohol, if you can live a perfectly happy, healthy life and never drink alcohol. But orgasm is not that. Orgasm actually is, it's a natural function of our body. It's actually very healthy for us. So to abstain, it would be like going for 30 days without eating vegetables. I could do that because I'm not very good at vegetables, but it's probably not very good for me. Like, so why?
I mean, are we counting potatoes as a vegetable? Me and my wife get in this
Potato
argument
chips.
all the time. Well, no, not even that. Like, I can eat steak and potato every day for 30 days straight. And she's like, that's not a vegetable. I'm like, yes, it is. No, it's a starch. No, it's still a vegetable. Shut up.
Yeah, I don't know, but you're right. I would have a
Anyways,
hard time giving up potatoes for a month. That
Yeah.
would be difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah,
yeah.
I saw this before, and every time, if you want to do it and you really think that you have a problem with, playing with yourself, all the power to you. I would more suggest probably talking to a therapist or some type of mental health professional before you just go, you know what, can I not do it for 30 days? And it's become more in the news because more and more like health officials have talked about, like, we've referenced this before. Masturbating 3 times in a 7-day period is supposed to help reduce your risk of prostate cancer. That's one of the top cancers for men that, I don't know if they die, like the top killers for men of cancer.
It's
but
the least most, right?
It's
The
freaking
deadliest.
cancer. It's
no,
a
it's one of
serious
the-
thing.
yeah, least deadliest.
So
It's least deadly, but it's
Least
very,
deadly.
very common.
Very
Like it
common.
takes, it's a very slow growing one, but prostate issues are huge. So over the age of 40, I think it's like 50% of men start having prostate issues. And then every decade it gets more and more until like 80-year-olds, 90% of men are having prostate issues.
yeah.
And one of the best preventative or the biggest, I don't know, it's good for you to orgasm at least 3 times a week. That's absolutely true. That's recommended by the American Medical Association now, which tells you they've definitely got research. So,
Yeah.
and oh yeah, here I saw there's a 2016 study that I'm amazed of masturbation habits of over 30,000 men across 18 years. They found male participants who got off most often had a 20% lower chance of prostate cancer compared to those who masturbated less. So that's, I think, pretty telling. That's a lot of freaking people in a long-term study.
I think
Yeah.
that the science definitely points towards a FAP lifestyle, not a no FAP. But
Well,
I think
mean, that's kind of one of the issues that people have had with it is how much are you preaching? Like, it's not even that the science is preaching, hey, you should wake up and jack off every single day. It's, hey, you should, it's a normal thing to do. You should engage in it from time to time. Does it need to be your every focus? No. Can you rely on that as a meaning of self-fulfillment without a partner? Probably not. You should probably be somebody who humans are made to bond with each other, whether you like it or not. And yes, somebody's going to go, well, I have anxiety and I can't talk to large groups. It's not about talking to large groups. Humans are meant to have some other type of people. We are relationship bound organisms. Like whether you're in a one-on-one relationship, but just having a group of social interactions. And then the sexual part of it is, yes, you should be having some type of pair bonded or tri bonded, whatever social interaction. So masturbation is good for you in some ways, but at the same time, that shouldn't be your only focus. So there's a fine line of where it started versus some people taking like that fine line and blowing it way out of proportion of, oh yeah, you should go the whole month of November without an orgasm. Like, meh.
Yeah. Well, and there was this thing because that was talking about let's see, people say it's good for your testosterone levels, right? And this has been the debate also for sports. Is it better to abstain before a big game or have sexy before a big game? And that is one
See,
issue
I
in
always
terms of
found that very
testosterone.
weird too. Like,
Yeah.
I think the reason that they abstain before a game isn't because so much of this sex thing. I think it's because they want people to get like a good night's sleep. And obviously, like I think that's why they make players do
Well,
that.
and
Oh,
it
but
just
that's
depends. I think a lot of it stemmed from, hey, I want my players focused. I don't want them chasing ass around town all night and
Yeah,
not
but they
getting
have to
sleep
be in
and
their
stuff.
room anyways. Like, why can't your wife be in the room?
Well, it depends
Oh.
because then you have guys like Tyson Fury, world championship heavyweight boxer, who says the month leading up to a fight, he and his wife I think he said they were having sex 4 or 5 times a day because it boosts his testosterone level personally, and he trains harder in the gym every single day when he's a month out of a fight. So he's just constantly going at it with his wife basically every time they get a free second. And he credited that to one of his recent
That's
performances.
why I think like I would perform much better in like a high pressure situation if I just had an orgasm or like if I'd cleared my head like that. But
yeah, what was it?
Yeah.
Post nut clarity that
Yeah.
Aaron taught us about and stuff. Yeah.
That's
and
for
it-
making decisions, yeah, and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
now I will say personally, when I was younger, in my early to mid 20s, I had a very, very serious hardcore workout regimen. And I noticed the more I was working out, the less I was preoccupied with masturbation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I still noticed women, I still talked to women, I still tried to get dates and stuff like that. But it wasn't anything like, the more I worked out, the more it kind of not satiated not my sex drive or anything like that, because I still had a sex drive, but it was a lot easier to wake up in the morning and go, well, I could rub one out while I'm in the shower, or I could just hurry up, go for a run right now, and then come back. And then by the time I got done with the run, or by the time I got done with the lift at the gym, I was back and I was like, okay, I got other stuff to do. Like it wasn't worth wasting my time with at the time.
Yeah. Well, and it does seem that there's a little confusion. Some studies say, yeah, if you have sex, then you do get an increase in testosterone. Others show that there may not be a link, but it certainly doesn't decrease your testosterone. And I
mean, clearly to me, what this sounds like is it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
I think if you can control yourself like this is where I'm thinking like they're seeing like if you can basically control the most basic part of your biology and you're like, with your like and abstain from that, then you're mentally strong there, then you're probably maybe equating that to being mentally strong in other areas. So
Yeah.
which is interesting you said like the gym, because I think a lot of this has to do with like male, like I don't know, like it has some weird undertones of like kind of cis male, like heterosexual kind
machismo.
of. Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking that there's a level of sort of shame because again, we don't have 30 days don't eat vegetables. We don't have 30 days of don't eat healthy, right? We have 30 days of try and see what happens if you eat fast food. So these 30-day challenges are usually about something. If we're trying to give it up, it's because there's a sense of judgment that it's not actually good for us, like alcohol and stuff.
Yeah, sugar.
And sugar and stuff. So to me, I was kind of thinking that maybe this no nut November is a way of trying to put down and show people that masturbation shouldn't be all that and that they could rise above it. And I don't know. So it's more, I feel some judgment in it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, I knew this guy in college who was really prominent in this like no fap movement. He did and he called no fapping, no fap, whatever. And I don't think he did it just in November, but like was really, I mean, to us, it was like all over Instagram and stuff. That's why we used to see it. We like laughed because it was weird. Like he was so into this, like
was he having sex?
I don't know. He was a good looking dude, but very like he played like 4 sports and was just really like a dude kind of, but also just like
Hmm.
he lived next to a really good friend of mine. I just think that like it's just one of those things where I don't know, it attracts to me seemingly a certain type of person. And like it's interesting because we are looking at this Healthline article that you said, and people in this article like say or like this no fat movement, they're scared of them, like of offending them and saying like it's it may not be right because they apparently there's like some sex shaming and potential harm. Like I think these people take this like extremely seriously, which I have to think is like true of a lot of like people who kind of believe in like, I don't want to say like old wives tales, but like maybe perhaps things that aren't medically proven. So
Oh yeah, they said some of the what is it? There's some organization or something. I don't
yeah.
know that
Yeah.
interesting, and that experts have called them out for sex shaming and stuff. So I do kind of wonder if also maybe some of them are, I don't know, this is bad, but if they're closeted homosexuals, right? Or if they've got some other desires, fetishes, turn-ons that make them ashamed of themselves, and that's part of it. That part of why they're saying, okay, no, no fapping, no self-pleasure, no solo sex, is because they don't like what they're thinking about during that time, right? Because that could be this idea,
True. Huh.
if you're fantasizing about, a gay bathhouse, or maybe you're a guy and you're really submissive sexually and you find that embarrassing, mortifying, or inappropriate, or any of those things, you'd be like, oh no, I want to stop. And so instead of admitting that, you just say, oh fine, I'm just not going to self-pleasure.
Yeah.
So I don't know, people out there, I guess you really got to question and think about these things, right? Because they gain traction so quickly. I had no idea this was such, I say a big thing, but it is. Once I started looking, there's lots of talk about this stuff. And I just wonder, if you hear that and you're a young kid, what does that make you think? Right? Then do you feel bad every time you self-pleasure? Because God knows in high school and stuff, boys should be doing that, right? There are hormones, there are biological changes that are going. And I think women would never do this because we don't really admit that we self-pleasure to start with. So we sure as hell wouldn't say, oh, it's a big deal for us to go 30 days without doing it.
Yeah. I think there is like some shame definitely in it.
I wish you could go back and ask that guy in college more, right? It's just like, what is underneath it?
It was okay. He was like, I remember him explaining it in these Instagram posts. It was like very, like being able to, like what I said, being able to like control this was like the ultimate level of like it showed mental toughness. That he was like so mentally tough that like he could do this, he could like like it was one of those like anyways, everyone thought it was weird. Everyone thought it was so strange that he was so like into advocating for this, and I knew him because he did live like, he was a very good looking guy, like very good looking guy. So I don't know if like I don't know. But you're right. Like, I didn't think about that. But, like, perhaps, there's, like, also, like, a shame aspect to them. But then why wouldn't you carry that over into, like, the rest of your, like, if you're ashamed, you wouldn't probably just not do it in November. Right?
Well, but that might be that. Okay, so I'll tell you, right, selfishly, I used to be a divorce lawyer. I flipped, right? Why do I preach and teach love, and why do I want everybody else talking about sexy stuff and everything? There's part of it. It's because I didn't want to be the only one. Like, I felt shame that I had these desires and things, and I didn't know what to do. And I just, again, smart, successful. I'm maternal. I've got kids, and I want my ass spanked. I mean, how mortifying is that? And so it was like, well, if other people are doing it and could talk about it, then at least I don't feel so weird. So I think in some ways, like I couldn't just come out and just start talking and doing it personally. So I turned it into a profession. I think maybe that's why this challenge can occur, because this is a way of bringing people together over it in a way that still doesn't, it's not quite as vulnerable, and it looks like something good, like control and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there might still be some significant issues underneath. But certainly, if anybody out there, if any of y'all are doing this, or if you have done it, or if it appeals to you, please let us know why.
I do want to meet
really
someone who's
interesting.
actually done this as just No Nut November. Like,
Mhm.
not, I don't know. Like, is there, and maybe there is. Maybe we just don't know. Maybe there's
Yeah.
but it's seeming like this is like very fringe.
Yeah.
And there's this hilarious TikTok going on around that's like going viral of this guy who started this, like, he's like in college, of this group chat with like 30 of his friends. And like, you leave the chat when you have failed No Nut November, basically. And every day he like highlights one dude who's like left the chat. And then he asks them why. And then the guys all respond like why they've left the chat. Most of it's like girls who come onto them and stuff. But
there's one, I don't know, group or something that's Aaron, what did I tell you it was called? It's like you coupon or a No Nut November pass or some such, that you have to get, a guy has to prove, I don't know to whom, but that it came from a woman, and it gives them permission to basically jerk off one time. A coupon.
Yeah, no.
Look, I could see this definitely being like also like maybe in the fetish community, some sort of like, I'm like the chastity belt thing, you know?
Oh, yeah, male chastity. Yes, that is definitely
like there's definitely some
but
aspect of control.
I will tell you that if with people who are really experienced with male chastity, if there's a dom, you know, somebody that's in charge of it, they will recognize though that physically that men still need some release. And so a lot of the women, if they've got a partner in male chastity, they won't let them have an orgasm, but they will basically milk the prostate. So they will give the prostate a chance to basically expel and clear itself out, because they know that that's what we need health-wise, and that's what men need physically. So that is an interesting thing, because there are men who will be put into chastity by their partner for several months at a time, but they must have some sort of milking and whatever. Yeah, Aaron's like, oh my God.
Yeah, no.
Okay, we finally found something Aaron wouldn't do for Danielle, right? Because
I mean, I would try anything under the sun for pretty much.
Yes, you would.
Maybe months at a time. You're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they still, that's the thing. They say with men, that men, even if they're deprived of orgasm and sexual pleasure, they still keep wanting it. But women, if you deprive us, if we go for even a couple of weeks without sexual pleasure, without an orgasm and stuff, we kind of, our bodies are just naturally flip the switch and we stop wanting it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, but it's not so good for people, because then you have to actively switch it back on, and women need orgasm and stuff too. But
and there's also that interesting aspect like of religion in this.
Yeah.
You know, because priests and monks, you know, and even like I think in the Buddhist religion and Catholicism, certainly, right? They abstain from any like you're supposed to abstain from any and all sexual.
Really,
you know.
the Buddhists? I don't know.
I think
anything
Buddhist
about.
monks can't.
Because I'm thinking Catholics are a pretty good example of how fucked up things get,
and they're like, and I think this may like
that sounds very judgmental.
I understand that, and I'm just saying, based on just the legal cases, you know, based on what's actually out there, without supposition.
And Catholicism is a lot about like saintlyhood. I don't know if you guys know this. I know this because I studied history in college.
Yeah.
the whole idea of abstinence and saintlyhood, like people they had, like I just read about these Victorian fasting girls in the Victorian period who like would like they like allegedly claimed they could go without food for years and years and years, but same thing with monks, like no food, no sleep, like they lived in the hills, and they like, and apparently the more you could go without these like earthly pleasures, the saintlier, you closer to God you were. So,
And
you know,
I gotta say, there's a little bit of insanity, I think, maybe
Oh,
that
for
kind of
sure.
goes there.
Sure.
I just,
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
and it's very interesting because, if you talk to anybody who's been in, the Marine Corps, any of the military, special forces, part of your training is to push your body beyond whatever brink that you ever thought you had, way beyond it. And
Right.
that's why, you're getting 3 hours of sleep a night at most for most of your boot camp. And you are pushing your body past physical limits. But that's for a better reason. That is because you are training for the worst case scenario, that you are in a hellfire war where you don't have time to sleep, where you don't have time, and you still need to make sure that your body can handle that pressure, that stress, all of that, because it is a life or death matter. That from a religious standpoint is interesting, that, oh, well, the closer I put, or the more I push myself, the closer I am to God. Well, yeah, but if you push yourself too far without food, you're going to meet God in a really big hurry.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
So,
Like I think most of these claims that no one can go without food for like more than whatever 2 weeks or something, so like obviously like there is no such thing, you're gonna die. This isn't as serious, but same thing, like it's again, like I think this is like a mental thing, and look, like doing this once I don't think is gonna be the end. I think your prostate will be okay in the end.
Oh, yeah,
Like I don't think that doing this once, maybe I probably wouldn't recommend it every year, but like trying it out if you really want to. But again, like I think we're here to say that there's no known health benefits to this, at least not
Right.
yet.
Not anything that's supported. And there is evidence, scientific evidence to show the opposite, that orgasm is helpful. And just before we wrap up though, I also think it's important for people to know, like, so when it comes to abstinence, an interesting study was done on sperm quality, and they found that a period of abstinence from 1 to 4 days actually can help improve the sperm concentration, the volume, the motility, total sperm count. So in other words, people who are trying to get pregnant, right? This is important, 1 to 4 days. More than 4 days, though, actually had the opposite effect, and the sperm deteriorated with abstinence of more than 4 days. So again, these are things that are scientifically proven, and it's interesting. And certainly the more research we get, the better. And I'm all in favor of that. But I do think that when people put out these challenges and whatever, it's just be real about what you think, be real about what science shows, just like we do, right? When we don't know something, if we're supposing things, then we talk about that. And we might be wrong, and that's totally okay. People call us out on that, and that's great. We're happy to do. But don't start this whole movement with a bunch of bullshit and pretend like it's just real or factual, because that's a disservice.
Well, not only that, I mean, like I said at the beginning, if you're doing this and you're wholeheartedly signed up because you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, well, I think I have a problem. I think I'm masturbating too much, or I think I'm relying on porn too much. Well, okay, that's one thing. But if you're really at that point where you think you have a problem, talk to a mental health professional. Don't just take it into your own hands to go, well, if I can go a whole month without touching myself, that'll fix it. No, that, again, like Tina said with the whole, sober October, if you're just putting it off, it will come back and it will haunt you even harder. So be willing to know that, like, if you're scared that you have a problem, you might not. You might go, oh man, I jack off 4 times a week. What the hell's the matter with me? And then you talk to somebody and they go, no, you're fine. You might be somebody who, you get off to porn every time, but it's, like we've talked about, it's not the porn addiction like we talked about with Powerful Eric. It's just that's my preferred method of medium, and you've never thought about, reading erotica or whatever, that's a whole different thing. But
Yeah.
if you feel like you need to do this because you have a problem, talk to somebody, and don't just think that, hey, if I give it up for 30 days, I'll be fine.
Yeah, because I know a lot of alcoholics, that's what they do. They say, oh, see, I can go 30 days without drinking, so I'm not an alcoholic. But the fact that, right, there are functioning alcoholics. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Aaron. And that is, if you think you have a problem, just, go talk. There are so many different resources. Heck, holler at Powerful Eric. That's a great, a great thing. And we can put his website also in the show notes and stuff.
Yeah.
But
and listen to that episode too, because it gives you great, it gives much more in depth about what exactly is a sex addiction.
Yeah, that was a really great one. And then we had another one with Delphi, right, who deals with sex addicts on a regular basis, right, truly problematic and stuff. So there are lots of resources. And again, we're not here to judge you or shame you, because God knows, I am totally hooked on sugar. I get addiction. It's just painful. It's awful. I'm not even laughing. Like, I'm going to wind up with diabetes, and I got to get it under control. And I know how fucking hard it is. So, but do that. Yeah. Let's be smarter, right? Let's be smarter, and let's get rid of, if you're dealing with it from a shame perspective, if sexy is still shameful to you, then we're here to tell you, we're here with you, and there's help for that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, thank y'all. By the way, if you are listening, if you haven't given us a review at Apple Podcasts, please go to Come With Us Podcast and on Apple Podcasts, and please give us a review. We could use all that we get. It helps them tell other people about our podcast. So, and also follow us on social media, because we like to hear from y'all, and we like to see what's going on in your lives, just like hopefully you enjoy hearing about ours here. So thank you for joining us for Come With Us Podcast, where you get the bare naked truth about love, sex, and relationships. And I'm Beth Darling at BethDarling.com, and here with Aaron and Tina. Thank y'all so much, and we'll see you next week. Big hugs.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Come With Us podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media at Come With Us Podcast, and send in your questions, comments, and confessions to comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. Until next time, keep it fun, flirty, and naughty.